Hello and welcome to a session with World Inspireton conversation with our life accelerators. It is a very warm welcome to Diane Curran, a conversation we are having with the marketing queen. Welcome, Diane.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aziza. It is my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yes, and let me give an official introduction to this amazing lady. She is the founder and CEO of the Marketing Deal and a branding and marketing consultant with exactly 49 years in the world with this expertise that she has. And she's also the podcast host of Wow Whispering. Thank you so much, Diane. Miss Diane, Curran, right? I'm supposed to pronounce her name as Curran. Diane Curran. Let me just correct that and correct myself with that. Thank you so much.
You're so kind. Thank you. You know, I have found that in life, as we get more global, everybody's name gets pronounced about 7 different ways. So we just all need to get used to that.
Yes, that's right. Thank you for the understanding. And, it's so wonderful to experience you in this part of the world. And we want to welcome you as our Life Accelerator to be part of this amazing journey that we started off while the year was ending. And today is the time that we are reaching out with what we call welcoming a promising 2021. And you are live with us today. Thank you.
Perfect timing.
Absolutely. And it is still a new year. Happy New Year to you. And I think you just started off the new year a couple of hours ago.
Yes, and you're still, I think, within the first day. So
yes.
we are really right at the beginning of a brand new adventure. I'm very excited about it.
That's right. And we want to have this conversation as fun as possible, definitely, but very, very interestingly, you are a queen in marketing with 49 years experience. We cannot not tap on you, on your expertise, on the problems that people are facing in the world right now, reaching out. And what do you think is the main issue when it comes to marketing?
So I'm going to say it's an issue within marketing, and it's an issue for humanity, and that is a 5-letter word called trust. And by trust, I simply mean that people have, I'm going to say, become conditioned to not trust others and not trust themselves and not trust the world. And that is probably one of the most critical problems we have, because we must work together to solve the kinds of things that we can solve together. And that is what is required. So I think that is essential in communications. It's essential in keeping your heart open. And it's essential in being willing to listen to someone who may be saying something different than what you expect to hear from them.
This is interesting. The most important thing that you said, people willing to listen. And you also told me before when we were having this conversation, the toughest thing that, we are not doing in marketing is to be a good listener. And you have been loved by your customers and clients for being this amazing listener. And that's why you created your podcast too, right?
It's true. I have found that I learn so much simply by being with someone and giving them a chance to share themselves. And once that happens, then I can support them to be sure that they are sharing themselves with their intended audience. Because sometimes we get nervous and shy and we don't know if we should, or they want to listen to us and we kind of rush over that. But when one listens back and forth, you develop a relationship. And that forms the basis of trusting that there's something you can accomplish together that will benefit you both.
Yes, this marketing thing that we want to have more insights with is because many people struggle because everybody thinks like, okay, I've done it and that's what it's going to be and I will make it. But however, as life evolves, people evolve. everything, the requirements evolve, and suddenly what you used to market for with doesn't apply anymore. So, what do you usually, how do you support people in this kind of environment?
Well, it's very tempting to get all involved in what I'm going to call the techniques and the tools. And a popular word now is metrics for marketing, where you're so busy trying to keep track of all that that you've forgotten the purpose, which is to communicate value such that someone is interested in hearing more. And then they get to see if it feels like it applies to them, if it fulfills a need, if it satisfies a desire, and if it makes a difference. And what you need to do is to give somebody what they need to know in order to make that choice. Marketing is not hard sell. That's bad marketing. What it is something that is taking a person, kind of shaking them and saying, I will simply not stop talking until you buy my thing. And it doesn't work anymore. There's too many choices in this world. And if we could just calm down our energy and recognize the importance of providing real value, then you've got somebody who's interested in you for life.
You know, this is what I just love this. I mean, yes, it sounds very simple, right? But this is value. I mean, you just said something so powerful, like communicating value. I think that is the missing gap in every marketing space. It is like, yeah, we talked about, people always say, okay, don't talk about features, talk about benefits and all of that. But this way that you put it is like, bang, hit on, communicating value, because there's so much of value available right now online, and people are kind of lost in values. Do you say that? Would you agree if I say that?
Well, it's interesting because what happens is that sometimes when somebody has something that they want to offer to the world, they're so busy wanting to say all these things about it, they don't give the person time to be with it. Mm-hmm. And develop a natural question that you are actually prepared to answer and address. And you know what? You don't want everybody as your customer. Not everybody is a good fit for you. And if you can learn that and trust that your purpose is to find the people with whom you are a good fit and they're a good fit for you, then everybody is going to end up with something of value. And that's a much better life to live.
Yes, for sure. I just love this conversation with you. And so, what is the one thing you feel marketing a product or service, people are missing out on?
The word why is coming to mind, and that is, why are you offering what you're offering? And why are you buying the things that you're buying? Because here's what's fascinating. Everybody in life is both a consumer and somebody who has either a job or a business or some work that they do, some purpose that they do, where they're offering things to other people. Perhaps you might be the head of a not-for-profit. You are offering something to people that you want them to do. But in your personal life, you're also gathering things and resources that you need to make your life work. What we need to recognize is that we play both roles. And if we don't pay attention to that, we can get really off balance. And then nobody wants to hear from you because it's too much, I'm going to say, convoluted energy. It doesn't work as a communication. So I would say communication is, of course, a two-way conversation. And that's what's needed always.
Very nice. This is where you are so good at doing this, because you actually started your own podcast. That is so exciting. And you finished your first season, you're getting into the next one. So tell us a little bit about the podcast, because I just love the name. It's Wow Whispering, and it's just Wow Whispering. Tell me about that.
It came to me. I've been thinking a lot about, and I have been thinking a lot about people who are very well known. In every culture, in every country, in every society, there are some people who become famous or infamous. And people pay a lot of attention to that individual. Well, why is that? Mm-hmm. Sometimes people say, The reason is because they're charismatic. Well, what does that mean? We could get into a long conversation about that, but essentially, there are some people who are somewhat magnetic and you're drawn to them. And then other people say, oh, I'm not charismatic at all. I could never be up on a stage. I could never talk to a group of people. I just want to stay behind the scenes and do my job. And I don't even want to go out and market, even though I have a company. And it just becomes a downward spiral. So I thought, wait a minute. There are other people who are very well known, not because they sought it out, but because people sought them out. And oftentimes they have very quiet voices and they're not looking for more public communication. But when they do speak, they have something to say. You know, they often say that if you're in a meeting, the person who says the least has the most power in the room. So I thought, well, wait a minute, why is that? There's another kind of energy. I'm calling it whispering. So there's the wow energy that's expressive and active and, you know, kind of exciting, exploding. But then there's the whispering energy that's quiet and still and gives you a chance to breathe it in.
Wow, I like that one.
And I thought, well, we need both. You can't have a world filled with just one or the other because it doesn't work that way. That's not the nature of life. And if you make room for both, then you've got a dynamic balance in life and a dynamic balance in communication. So I thought, I want to talk about wow whispering. So I suspect that if I just share that idea with people, they'll want to talk about it too. And guess what they do?
So this has been going on for a while. So currently you're based from LA, you said, and so you do a lot of your podcasts for people from US and Canada.
Well, so far I've had, because I'm English speaking, I've had people come to me and find me, and I found them in the US and Canada. And I'm looking to be in the bigger world because we are in a big, huge earth together, and it's getting more intimate and community-based all the time. And what I love about that is that I've always been fascinated with the idea of people think in different ways because of the way they were brought up. And I want to know what that is. I want to understand it. I want to get a sense of it. And sometimes even people who were brought up in the same community think very differently. And so the goal I have, if anything, would be to have conversations where everybody learns something. And maybe they learn it about the other person. Maybe they learn it about themselves. And listeners who we don't know what they're thinking. We don't know where they are. We don't know what they're doing. They might be learning something that makes a difference in their lives. How exciting is that? You know,
it's definitely very, very exciting because, you know, this is the time where everybody wants to be heard and everybody wants to listen because everybody have a lot of time online.
We have more time than we ever thought we were going to.
Yes. And what I was thinking is, you know, it's wonderful that, you know, you have put together this whole podcast and you want people to go out there and have their voice heard. I've also realized, you know, we started a lot of online activities that many programs that's going out there are meant to be to let people learn about themselves or get themselves inspired more than anything else. What do you say?
Well, you know what they say, the teacher teaches what they need to learn. I think the podcaster
love that. Say that one more time. That one more time.
Teachers teach what they need to learn. So maybe podcasters podcast about what they want to learn as well, or what they need to learn. And isn't that fantastic? I mean, the longer, you know, I people often say life is short. I say life is long, and there's always going to be something new to do and something new to discover. And if one is discovering, one is living. And then life is an extraordinary blessing, gift, treasure even. And let's have more of that.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And it's going to be really fun. And I know that you have some very exciting programs coming up. Your book's next version is coming through. Tell us about that. And I think as we round off the session, and you also have some podcast trainings that's going to show up. So everybody wants to keep in touch with you for that. But tell us about your book before we round off the session and the next phase of it.
So the book is a good example of listening to the whispers. You know, having been doing marketing for a zillion years, and yes, I did start learning about it when I was a kid, but I actually started getting paid for it when I was 22, and I've been doing it a long time. What I did was I realized there's so many things to understand about marketing. There's so many principles, so many techniques. How in the world can I make a book that's not boring, that people aren't going to want to read all the way through? Well, wait a minute. If you play, then you're open and you have fun and creativity shows up. And I thought, well, what do people like to play? I love cards. And I don't play a lot of formal games of cards, but I like card spreads and, you know, pick 3 cards and see what they mean. And I thought, well, wait a minute, I could just use a deck of cards and I'll put the marketing ideas into the different suits and I'll end up with 4 suits, but I'll add 2, so I'll have 6 suits. I ended up with 78 cards and hundreds of marketing ideas.
Wow.
All organized in a way that you can literally pick a card, any card, and it's going to give you anywhere from 3 to 7 ideas right there that you can play with and discover, could this apply to me? Can I step outside the box of what I already am doing and think about doing something else? And the minute you do that, your younger self kicks in and says, oh, you mean I can have fun with this? What an idea.
I was just going to tell you about that because it's so fun. We play games all the time with family, and I think now is the time everybody's playing games and cards and all of that because that's how it is to have fun. So now you have a fun way. Games is always a fantastic way to keep us engaged in live and have fun to play. So that's a brilliant idea of marketing game. We can't wait to get our hands on it.
Well, you know, and what's so great about it is that each of the cards, there's a logic. You know, what's really weird, Dr. Aziza, is that this came to me in a flash. And I literally had to scramble to write it down really fast. And I thought, why is this so easy? Well, you've only been doing it. At that point, I think I'd only been doing it for about 35 years or something. But I thought, well, I've been building toward this for a long time without knowing it. That's why I say the whispers came forward and turned into a wow, because I didn't plan on this. I wasn't starting out saying, well, let me get into marketing so I can write this book. That wasn't what I did.
It's an evolution of your work, and it's just amazing how we can, take forth this conversation. We'd love to have more detailed conversation of each of these 2 work that you do, and definitely people can get in touch with you on your websites as well as all the Facebook pages and the Instagram pages that you have. Is there any final word you have for our friends for this session?
I want to say that as we begin 2021, I want to invite people to do something very important. That word trust we talked about earlier. I want to invite people to explore and experiment with what it takes to trust yourself.
Wow.
I will tell you that that is one of the most powerful things that we are not taught to do. We're taught to kind of fight against ourselves or treat ourselves either too lightly or too harshly. There's nothing in between. There's no balance. And I think that it's worth exploring and really learning what that means, because it is a huge gift to make your way in the world and to really contribute to others when you trust yourself.
That is just wonderful. And I feel that kind of nails it for today's session. Thank you so much, Ms. Diane, for being part of this journey with us. And we so look forward to all your sharings on our Go Global channel.
It is my pleasure, and I love what you are doing. You are making such a huge difference in the world, and you're starting out powerfully, and it's even going to get bigger from here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.